All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army summer soccer season, summer soccer silly season, I was going to call it. Episode 3. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with focus on the U.S. men's national team and our upcoming game against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as well as the rest of the Gold Cup. Plus, some thoughts on Gianni Infantino's baby, the expanded Club World Cup that is taking place right here in our midst in the United States of America. Now, before we get to all of that, let's say hello to our interim panel of beauties, who will be joined by one more in shortly. First up, we got Tommy McGunner. The question for you, and actually is going to be the question for our second panelist as well. The hottest thing going, all the kids are talking about it right now, is the Great American Soccer Tween novel that is in production. What percentage, and this is the one, of course, with Tommy Brewster stars in, what percentage of this soccer tween novel is autobiographical, would you guess?
60?
60%. Okay. Well, let's ask the man himself, Tyler Terrence, who is putting together this soccer tween novel as we speak. Does it have a title, by the way?
Not yet. No.
Okay. No working title?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just the Great American Soccer Tween novel. That works.
Yep.
I'll figure out the acronym for that later and work with it. What percentage is autobiographical, would you say?
Honestly, like 20%, 25%. I think like where it takes place, some of the family issues, and then a lot of the goals that he scores are goals that I are goals that I recall scoring in high school and some in club too, and a little bit in college. So, 25-30% maybe.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
He's much better. He's much better than I was, Tommy Brewster.
Well, I would have guessed a lot higher than that, but 20%, we'll go with that. Everybody stay tuned for the actual soccer tween novel coming at some point. We don't know. There's no production date on that. We'll move on though. There we go. There's the acronym TGASTN. That is a mouthful. We'll have to work on that a little bit. The next up, or first up, is going to be the U.S. men's national team, fresh off of a 5-0, shellacking of Trinidad and Tobago. Before we get to that, though, we got to go a quick word from our good friends over at Kick-It, the one-stop shop for all your soccer tennis needs. Tyler, what do we got to know here?
I mean, what you need to know is that if you're late for whatever reason on buying Kick-It, shame on you. The sun's out. Drinks are flowing. Pacificos galore. You're looking for something to do outside of drinking, if that makes sense, or in tandem, in combination, in collaboration with drinking, that also involves the beautiful game. Voila. Kick-It. All-in-one soccer tennis. Head over to kickit.net. Enter the code SAM25, and all your dreams are going to come true. Everybody can play. The ball is designed for those donkey touches that exist out there. Nobody, with the exception of Sam, has a donkey touch. Psyduck can play himself. And do it now or regret it for the rest of the summer, because at this point in time, you're too late. You should have been listening to me in January. You should have already ordered it. You should have ordered 5 back in January, to be fair. And you would have also kept one for yourself and given a few to your loved ones. But anyway, kickit.net, SAM25 code, get 10% off of the basic soccer tennis set. You're welcome.
There you go. Quack, quack, says Psyduck, which means go buy Kick-It. We will move on back to our U.S. men's national team, our beloved U.S. soccer team, coming off of a 5-0 whooping of Trinidad Tobago. My first and really only thought on this game was, where the hell was this Trinidad and Tobago in 2017? Would have been a whole lot different outcome for a lot of us if that had been the case. But no, we will get to, we got a Saudi Arabia game that I think is a little bit more important coming up on Thursday. But the game itself, really quickly, my only takeaway other than the 2017 joke is this TNT team stinks, and we learned almost nothing from this game. Like, almost nothing. Tyler, do you disagree?
Mildly, and the only reason why is because take a look at the other major teams within CONCACAF that have already played in this competition, and Canada's playing tonight as the final one. So Costa Rica almost lost to Suriname. Mexico maybe got lucky to win the game against the Dominican Republic, finishes 3-2. I would even say Jamaica to a certain extent. They just lost to Guatemala for the first time in 13 years. And, Panama scores 4 against Guadeloupe, but Guadeloupe ends up scoring 2. Like, 5, sorry. So the U.S. emphatically, regardless of competition, took care of business more so than any other team. Now, we'll wait to see exactly what Canada is going to bring to the table tonight against Honduras, but I guarantee you it's not going to be 5-0. So, I mean, yeah, Trinidad stinks, but you can only play who's in front of you, and the U.S. took care of business more so than any other team at this point in the tournament. So that's like the overly positive way of looking at it.
Okay, that's fair. I don't necessarily disagree with anything said. I think one thing I would point out is I think, and this is a theory, we'll find out in the next couple game days here. I think this TNT team is like levels trashier than some of those others. Suriname is not a bad team.
No.
Guadeloupe, I'm not sure about. Guatemala, not terrible. So some of these teams are, I think, just decent quality. Where that Trinidad and Tobago team that I just saw play against us, wow, they were awful. Tommy, anything to add there?
I mean, they're in a fragile position going into this, losing 4-0. Everyone's on their back, a ton of off the field issues. You have to put in a good performance, and I don't care who's in front of you. That matters to be able to put in a strong performance, to like just basically shut everyone up and focus on the game and the tournament. So I think that became really important. And now it's, can they carry it over from there? And I liked some of the individual performances. I was happy, and I enjoyed like watching Diego Luna, Jack McGlynn, specifically those two. I could watch Diego run off the ball, get on the end of things, chase the game, and McGlynn pass for 90 minutes like that pretty routinely. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah, I mean there's some performances that we could give quick shout outs to. Diego Luna was everywhere. The guy's a man possessed. He always is, seemingly. I thought Arston, formerly known, maybe futurely known as Fartson, I thought Max Arston had a fairly good game. But at the same time, like, are we really going to give guys credit? Like, this is TNT. We have to, like, a 5-0 win is, I'm just not impressed. Well, we'll see going forward where we go from here, but I don't know. I just can't give too much credit, really, for a 5-0 win in this. Mikey, any quick thoughts on the TNT game before we move on?
Agree with Tyler's sentiment that you can only play who's in front of you. Luna looks like a really good option against bad teams, pressuring and causing mistakes. And I think McGlynn against a deep block is actually if he's not starting, you can throw him on when you're chasing a game, and his delivery is quality. So those are two takeaways in a positive way that you got from a game that should have meant nothing. So to win.
Fair enough. The one thing we got in the Discord, which I put it up before, Steve said, we learned that Ajimang is probably better as an option off the bench than starting. Any reaction to that?
It's generous.
That's harsh. I mean, he created he created at least 2 goals. He scored 2 goals, did he not?
Yeah, the one that hit off of him was a class finish.
That looked intentional. I'm going to give him a little bit of credit there. I thought that was an intentional goal. Yeah, I mean, Ajiman, I feel like we know what we get with him. I guess we'll see. I guess the question that we'll get to in a quick second is whether you think Pochettino is going to stick with him going forward when we have other options up there. I guess we can get to that now. Let's go to the Saudi Arabia game. By the way, before we get to that, quick little preview of Saudi Arabia, who Mikey's actually been watching. My thoughts on this Saudi Arabia team, Mikey, are that if we were playing their A team, this would be a pretty decent matchup, but we are not playing their A team. What's you've been watching? What are we looking at?
Yeah, the Al Nassari brothers on Al Halil are nasty, and they're not in this tournament. So nothing that they displayed against Haiti should cause us any worries.
Yeah. What my takeaway from that game, by the way, was that both those teams are significantly better than TNT, but there's no way that they should be able to play.
Haiti was disappointing, though. I expected a lot more out of Haiti. That's an experienced group. Dokens Nozon is typically one of the best players in this tournament. I thought that he was pretty poor. I was very disappointed with them.
But that was, I think part of that was their finishing was absolutely atrocious. And if they had put a couple away, it looked totally different. I agree with you in the result, but like I thought their performance wasn't that bad. I mean, they looked to me like a decent side that we should beat. So we'll get to that. Now, so for the starting 11 against Saudi Arabia. Now, quickly, the 11 against Trinidad and Tobago, we had Matt Freese starting in goal instead of Matt Turner. The defense was Arfston, Ream and Richards were our center back duos, and Freeman on the right. In the midfield, we had LDLT and Berhalter in the middle, McGlynn on the left. Let's see. Also, Malik Tillman. Sorry. Getting a little mixed up with the little background noise there. So we had LDLT, Sebastian Berhalter, and Malik Tillman kind of in the middle. And we had McGlynn on the left, Diego Luna on the right, and Ajimang up top. Does anybody want to take a shot at, making changes to that at all?
I think my only change would maybe be Brian White for Ajimang.
Brian White over Haji Wright?
Yeah. I'm just not. I'm over the Haji Wright thing. I think that he's played enough to the point where, like, I can tell you what he's going to give us, and more importantly, what he's not going to give us any given game. Like, I've seen enough, and yeah, and I agree with Steve that, like, I just don't think that he's a starter, and I don't totally think he fits in with this group. And I think Brian does a little bit better, even if he was part of that disaster against Switzerland.
So Ryan in the chat. And if you're not in the chat, by the way, get in the chat by getting on Sam's Army Patreon. Ryan said Ajimang is giving Zardes vibes. I don't think that's a compliment or meant as one. And is there any chance, and somebody immediately after Jared said, is there any chance Ajimang is a DK rebrand? That's tough. I feel like we don't even really know what Daryl DK is, and we may never know. The guy's just been hurt constantly for the last however many years, which is too bad. Seems like a good dude. Let's see. No, next comment was just a comment on Mikey living in a shady.
I would have said sauna more so than
I do get sauna sometimes. These are the private booths because this is during working hours. I'm on a call, everybody. So I don't know as much, Tyler, about Haji Wright and the whole experiment, but usually when you score off the bench, that kind of pencils you in, right?
Does it?
I hope not. I want to see Brian White. I think Brian White's a potential 26 candidate, and I don't think Haji is. So I'd like to see him go with Brian White, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he just starts Haji.
Yeah,
gives Brian 35.
It's not a terrible shout. I think that we should be careful because Jesus Ferreira also was the Pirate of the Caribbean not too long ago and scored back-to-back hat tricks. And like, look what he ended up doing. And like, he'll probably never come close to the national team again. So like, are we really putting a lot of stock into who scored the goals against Trinidad and Tobago? I mean, I
hope not.
I think fans tend to. I don't know if Pochettino is.
Anybody who's even a casual should be able to look at that game and be like, we are not taking anything away from that. You know who I actually think would be a mildly decent option if we had everybody healthy in the middle of the field as a number 9 or even a withdrawn number 9 is Malik Tillman.
Yeah.
Not a bad shout.
I mean, just based on his club performances, 100%, I'm with you.
Well, his movement's good. He's kind of shadow striker-y. He kind of gets in the box late.
He's bigger than most people give him. He's like 6'1".
He scores in Europe.
He's
yeah.
Did Pochettino compare him to Dele Alli? Was that the comparison when he first came in? He compared someone on the U.S. to Dele Alli.
Sounds like that.
And if it was Tillman, like, I don't hate that kind of withdrawn striker role for him. That
free roll type of thing. You need somebody.
I think gets your 11 best players on the field.
Sorry, Tyler, go ahead.
No, I was also going to say, like, and in those types of situations too, I also feel like, God forbid Christian ever played for the U.S. men's national team again, like, you get more isolated in those types of situations as a winger. And I think that getting Pulisic and Weah matched up 1v1 as many times as possible, like, that's kind of what we're looking for, right? Like, is so that that space isn't getting taken up by whoever it is, just floating and not necessarily, dropping in. And so I don't know.
I would say also, like, this time last year for Copa America, Greg was toying with something similar, where it was like a box midfield with drawn strikers, and then your like height and your width in behind was coming from the wingers and Pulisic and Weah. So like I do think that is a reasonable discussion to have, given the players we have. Assuming everyone's here, I think it makes a lot more sense.
I'd agree if we were like trying to like really find our best 11, but don't you think he's like looking to see what Ajimang and White and Wright actually bring to the table?
Are we still not trying to figure out what our best 11 is? I feel like we are. I don't think that
I mean, yeah, but we don't have anywhere near our best 11 players out there. I sort of feel like Pochettino's going in here. Yes, he's going in there to win and put a winning team out there, no doubt. But he's also sort of looking at individual performances and be like, is this a guy that's going to be
100%? But if you can pull off Malik Tillman in a false nine right now in a Gold Cup with the cast that's currently around him, then surely you'll be able to pull it off if he's surrounded by Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic, and Tim Weah.
Yeah, fair shout.
Like if you figure out what your system is in this tournament, maybe not who's going to be in the system come game 1 of the World Cup next year, I think that's a win. If you figure out like a true identity during these next 2.5 weeks, that is a massive, massive win, because I still don't think he has any idea what the best look is in terms of like the principles and philosophies within a system. So I'm all for trying this type of stuff and trying to figure out like what might work and if you might be able to build something around him.
Okay,
I like that.
Mikey?
I have one quick shout. I was going to bring it up. Tyler, I agree with everything you said. And one of the things I heard from you right there was like trying to find out who really is trying to be a part of this, like the genuine thing. And I don't know if it was tired legs or late shift. I was really impressed with Brendan Aronson. I might have, I don't even know if people were seeing the same things, but he looked fast. He looked really, really decisive. If he gets a start in this one, I'll be staring at him because I think he's had a great domestic campaign. He is going to be back up in the Prem. If he stays there, but he's got a lot to lose, and he's got a lot going on right now. So big pivotal point in his time. So if he starts, I'll be watching him primarily. I think he's got a real big part to play in the next 18 months.
He's got a lot to win. You say he's got a lot to lose, which is right, but he also has a lot to win, to get back in sort of the good graces of the fan base, if nobody else.
He needs to establish himself as the 12th man. There should be no reason why he's not the first guy off the bench in the World Cup in all 3 group stage games. And he's a great spark plug off the bench. He gives a change of pace. He's busy. He makes life difficult for guys who are trying to keep the ball. Like, I think he's perfect in a supporting role and should always be the first guy off the bench. As far as his skill set is concerned, when he pulls on the jersey and whatever goes on between the ears, like, I have no idea, but I'm with Mikey.
All right, quick. We'll go around the circle here. Predictions for the Saudi Arabia game Thursday night. I believe 8:15 Eastern kickoff. We'll start with Tommy, Mr. Tomstradamus or Nostradamus. What do you got for us prediction-wise for the Saudi Arabia game?
I think the U.S. wins. I don't think they keep a clean sheet, so maybe 3-1, 4-1.
Okay. Speaking of which, it'll actually be very interesting to see if Pochettino sticks with Matt Freese, which I don't know why he wouldn't. Freese didn't do anything wrong in the first game. I saw some of the player grades or whatever, and given like Freese a 5.0 or something. Like, come on, the guy, at least give him an NA. Like, the guy didn't do anything. Don't give him a failing grade. Anyway, Mikey, what's your prediction for this game?
I think it's going to be a really low block, and we're going to struggle a little bit. I think 1-0 or 2-0.
But a clean sheet. Okay.
I hope
Tyler?
so.
Aligned with Mikey. 1 or 2-0.
I feel like we're going to give up a goal. I kind of like Tommy's more like 2-1, 3-1. But I like us to win. There's no way, in no world, should we ever lose this game. That'd be catastrophic. All right. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so we will head to quickly the rest of Gold Cup. So Tyler is, knee deep in this stuff. He's out in LA covering the games for Fox at the moment, so he has been probably watching this closer than anybody. Quickly, before we get to a couple questions that are specifically for you, anything stand out about the tournament itself so far, or particular teams or groups?
Goals, lots of them. I know that I saw your post in the Best Bets channel of the Discord. Again, if you're not part of the Discord, it's the best way to talk about soccer with all of us. Literally costs you $3.99 a month to become a part of the Patreon. Then you get access to the Discord, and it's just an amazing way. Like during these like after dark types of moments, if you're living in the East Coast or in the Central Time Zone, people are up, they're watching. It's a group chat that you can just literally talk soccer with. It's the best. But Sam posted that I was on the call. He bet the over automatically, which I don't really think is a recipe for success, just because like you're excited that I'm on a game that's on TV and you're just like, I'm just going to bet the over. Like I feel like that's not healthy. But
True. But you actually had a little bit of a track record there of all the games you were calling.
I did. I saw 6 goals between Minnesota and San Diego, and then I saw 7 goals between Costa Rica and Suriname in less than 48 hours. So I'm with you. I was trending up, but this Jamaica was dreadful. But overarching themes, I think a lot of goals. I think some really poor defending. This is a lot of fun because you have teams like Guatemala, you have teams like Jamaica, Suriname, Curacao, El Salvador. All of these teams have a real opportunity, with Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. having already qualified, to qualify for the World Cup, some of which have never qualified for a World Cup before, if you're thinking about the Curaçaos and the Surinames of the world, and who just recently started to become more of a threat in CONCACAF. This is their proving ground. This is their opportunity. Some of them, they're in the same group in Gold Cup that they are with some of these World Cup qualifying groups that are going to start playing in September. Really, really fun stuff. And like, this is our region. I advise everybody to sink their teeth into it, absorb and embrace everything that's going on. Some of the crowds have been great. Guatemala City basically became Los Angeles last night, and it was amazing. And then there are some where there's 7,000 people in the stands in a 35,000 person stadium at Snapdragon Stadium on a Sunday night. But these games are wildly important for these groups to be able to prove that they can do it in a tournament setting, which of course they're going to come across in World Cup qualifying. So it's been a lot of fun so far. I think that the big dogs have been, outside of the U.S., have been like a little disappointing. I think Costa Rica's got a lot of work to do. I think that Guatemala might go on a little run this year. I like them collectively as a group. Individually, they had 9 out of their 11 that play in the Liga Nacional in the Guatemalan domestic league, but like they took it to a Jamaican team that's got loads of Premier League experience. And if I'm Steve McLaren, I'm lucky that I'm not getting sacked midway through this tournament, because that was a shocking performance from the Reggae Boys.
Yeah, and that's sort of a trend that's happening here. So Jamaica's grabbing a bunch of guys from Europe. I think Suriname's done the same thing.
Yep.
Curacao to a certain extent. So that's how these teams are suddenly, becoming a real more of a force anyway in CONCACAF. Of the groups, Group A, by the way, looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So this is Costa Rica, Mexico, Suriname, and Dominican Republic. That group looks like the 2 games so far have been a 4-3 game between Costa Rica beating Suriname 4-3 and 3-2 Mexico beating Dominican Republic. So those of us that are riding the over trains are laser focused on that Group A. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Oh, actually, we do have a question from Breezy in the chat. This one is, again, for you, Tyler. So he asked, actually, you know what he asked, right?
Yeah.
He wants to know about the differences between, commentating a, regular season MLS game where you're used to your partner and all this versus, going to a Gold Cup type situation where you're bouncing in between Mo Adu and Warren Barton and whoever else. Just sort of what is the different prep work? How is it? How much harder is it? That kind of thing.
It's a really good question, because it's actually been like the theme of my first 48 hours in terms of like what I'm trying to wrap my head around to do as a play-by-play, because my job is always to make my analysts shine more so than anything else. I'm a traffic cop. I'm getting us from one thing to the next in terms of storylines and everything like that. I'm calling action, obviously, above all else, but I need to put Warren Barton and Mo Adu, the guys who have the most amount of credibility, in the best position possible to sound as good as they can, to feel as comfortable as they can. And Mo and Warren call very different games. Warren is much more, let's have a couple pints. We're at the bar. We're watching the game together, and it's like a conversation back and forth. Mo comes from like a more traditional American broadcasting background, and that's more similar to who I work with every weekend in MLS in Kindred East St. Albans. So like working with Mo and working with Kindred, like there's not much of a difference there. Working with Warren is different because I know that he wants to have a conversation about the game, and then I'll jump into action when I need to. But having conversations with Warren about the game as the game's going on makes him feel the most comfortable. And I also know that he wants to jump in as soon as big action happens, so my calls aren't as elongated, or I'm shortening things up, or I'm being more concise, so that Warren can jump in quickly. And again, like Warren played for the English national team. He played for Newcastle. Mo Adu is a former U.S. international. I need to get out of the way so that these guys can talk. And I need to do it more with Warren. It's not saying one is easier or better or worse than the other. It's just simply like I have two different analysts that I'm working with that have two different styles, but that's part of the gig as play-by-play. But really good question, and like something that I've been talking about a lot with people in my life and stuff like that. So really, really good question, because it's been at the top of my mind, and hope that answered it.
Sounds a lot like what Tommy does for creative midfielders.
Probably.
Just keep it moving. Get them from one place to the next.
Yeah, I've used those exact same lines before.
Which one follow-up for you, Tyler, though? This isn't to sort of compare and contrast and, you know, value judge them, value rank them, but like would you prefer to do more conversational style, or would you prefer kind of, you know, the way that Mo and Kindred do it?
It depends on the game. I think that like during a 1-0 game and like a slower game, I'd rather have the conversational piece of it. If it's back and forth and there's loads of goals and stuff like that, I'd rather have it be the more traditional style, because then I can take control of moments, give it to the analyst, break down the play, and then we just go back and forth if the game's end to end. But again, like it's really refreshing working with Warren. Number one, he's hilarious. And he literally, like, he just says exactly what comes to his mind. He doesn't filter much, and it's amazing. And he tells it exactly how it is. Like, called out Francisco Calvo for thinking he's a lot better than he actually is 10 minutes before he slips and makes a disastrous mistake to level the score for Suriname. So I love that. But it kind of just depends on the game, and depends on my mood too. Like sometimes I'm just like, you know, like everybody shows up to work in a different mood every day. It's no different as a commentator. Sometimes I'm in a chatty mood. Sometimes I want to just call the game. So like, it just kind of depends on how I'm feeling, but yeah.
Fair enough. Good question. Good answer. All right. Move on along to halftime. So weekly what if is where we're going to get started here. Shout out to Tyler, actually, who came up with this in about a split second when I asked for recommendations earlier. What if Jesse Marsch had been named head coach of U.S. men's national team? How would things look different right now? Now, I know Tyler must have been thinking about this. That's why he was able to come up with it so quickly. So maybe you go first, and then we'll go around and see what everybody else thinks off you.
Yeah, so I was pondering this while I was on the treadmill, like 5 minutes before we decided to pop on here. But I don't think a ton would be different in terms of like. Actually, I don't. I would like to think nothing would be different, but I actually think that everything would be different at the same. Like I think that like we would have a much more aggressive, high pressing, you know, flying by the seat of your pants type of style. Whether or not that would be working, I have no idea. I think that there would be some drama. Maybe it wouldn't be the Christian Pulisic, Mauricio Pochettino drama, but there would be some drama that comes along with having Jesse Marsch as your head coach when he got sent off in the game against against the U.S. in the third place Nations League game. Like, he's a fiery personality. Like, I think that there's something that you have to accept when you hire Jesse Marsch as your head coach. I also think that there would be a greater sense of like pride in the U.S. men's national team if you have a guy who played for the U.S., who was a part of the system, who's coached at the highest, who's coached in the Premier League, who's coached in Champions League. And I just think that there would be at least a much more identifiable system in terms of what the U.S. are playing right now. And I think he would have already found out who his quote unquote best 11 are. And I think he would have stuck to it immediately, and he would have run it into the ground. And whether or not that's the right thing to do, I don't know. But I do know that he's much more like decisive in making quick decisions about like what he wants things to look like. So I think we wouldn't have as many questions about what's going on right now. We might have more questions as to whether or not it's working. But I would love to say not a ton would be different, but knowing who Jesse is and knowing his personality, I actually do think that there would just be an entirely different feeling around the team.
I think that was my immediate thought when you posed the question, is like, what would be different? I feel like in the short term, we might feel like we're in a better place because he would come in with a very cohesive sort of thought process. He would have the, you rah American sort of thing behind him. And he would probably just sort of, he would probably tell Christian Pulisic in the public to just like fuck off for not coming or something. But like in the longer term, I don't know. I'm not sure if his philosophy would work. I don't know sort of what his coaching ceiling is. Whereas with Pochettino, I mean, I am a Pochettino fan. So I think that like he's figuring things out right now, and that's going to take a little while, but I think that he'll get us where we want to go and put us in a good position to succeed, whatever that may be, for the World Cup. So I think that like in the shorter term, I could see like why that would be a good thing. I think longer term, I have higher hopes for Pochettino. Mikey?
I believe the word you're looking for when you say that thing is patriotism. Sorry, just throwing that out.
Nationalism,
there. Yeah, I think that's the word you were looking for. I prefer patriotism. Not much would be different. I mean, the team still has barely played under this one, so I don't know. I think we'd be at the same stage of development. The paths are eventually going to split, but I don't know. I just don't see enough time transpired so far.
Tommy, you're there with a coach every day. Do you think that Jesse Marsch would have you're not there with Jesse Marsch, but like you're there with a coach every day right now. Do you think that he would have a significant difference, a sort of a different outcome where we are right now?
I think significant difference. It's like hard to say if there's a different outcome. I think he has a very distinct style. I do think that you guys are spot on with the national pride thing. I also consider him an elite coach. So it's not like the level of coaching is any worse or better than Pochettino. Like I do think he is in that category. How he frames it might be differently, and I think that kind of coincides with the patriotism thing that we associate with American teams, is like the hustle, the work off the ball, the organization. Like I feel like that is his bread and butter, and then we would become a kind of a pretty fun attacking team from that base. That would be my guess on what would happen, and I think that would suit international soccer well. Like I think we would be. And to your point about would we be better in the long run, I actually think we would. His starting point knows our player pool much better than what Pochettino's was. I think he has a greater sense of a national identity. And then I think the way he would want to set his team up would be better for a quote-unquote inferior team in the big games in knockout stages in the World Cup. I would have hired Jesse.
Yeah, basically, you said that without actually saying that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And I'm sure if you asked Matt Crocker, what are you looking for in a coach 2 years ago, he would have listed like 5 things. I would have said, okay, you should hire Jesse.
Is it just me, or do you kind of look like Matt Crocker?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Tommy, are you wearing a cardigan right now?
Hell yeah, I am.
It looks great.
It does look cool. I can't pull that off. I'm jealous.
I can't pull a cutoff off, so
it's not for everybody.
You gotta be in the Discord to see this, but Tyler's going suns out, guns out right now.
It was a scene out at the pool. I was like coming out of the gym all sweaty, like cut off, veins popping out, got a great little upper body lift in, and then Mark Followill is shirtless over by the pool, and the two of us just started yapping about how bad Jamaica was. It was a fun little time.
Oh, and Jesse already answered the fact of what would you do with players sitting out this tournament? He's like, that doesn't exist for us, which I love.
Yeah,
so
he did.
To be fair, I'm so interested in Canada. He's made it cool to like be Canadian, be a Canadian soccer fan, and he's not even Canadian. So just imagine what it would feel like to be a U.S. men's national team fan with it being played on our home soil with Jesse Marsch as the head coach.
Canadians are gonna hate you for that statement. The only reason that like being Canadian or being Canadian soccer is cool is because of America.
It's not
You
the
made them
only
cool.
reason. He just made. Don't do that, okay?
I'm just saying. All right, listen, I like the statement. I just thought it was funny.
I love Canada. Vancouver is fantastic. Toronto's an amazing city. Chicago North. I really haven't spent a ton of time in Montreal. Banff. Really want to get to Banff. It's on my bucket list. I'm a big fan of Canada. Big fan.
I'm a huge fan of Canada as well. I'm from Wisconsin. We're basically cousins with Canadians. So nothing but love for Canada. Quickly, before we get out of halftime, this is a request from the Discord. Shout out to Kid and like Jason. Compliment Corner, Alexi Lalas, which is a good one. I feel like, Tyler, you got to start this because you've actually we've worked with him quickly.
I don't need to start anything. I'm just going to pass it along, and you're not going to come to me for this segment. But Mikey, take it over, please.
Yeah, he has a lot of patriotism.
Okay, fair enough. Tommy?
I think he does a really good job at creating discussion.
It's a good. Hey, that's a real thing.
That was essentially what I was going to say. You said it probably more better than what I was going to say. Yeah, he seems like a smart guy who knows what he's doing, and he knows how to get engagement. And it seems like he does his job very well, and I give him credit for that. All right, we'll move on to Round the World. We're going to keep it quick here because we got some hard stops coming up, but we will start with the Club World Cup. Johnny Infantino.
I've watched every minute.
Baby hair. Have you really, Mikey?
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, then you're the good person to start here. Do you, what's sort of what takeaways you got for us so far?
It's kind of a shame, the attendances at some of these. The players seem to be caught in two minds. The team selections and the way they're coaching is this is a real thing, but the players seem to be in a little bit of preseason friendly mode. And it's made for a really interesting kind of parallel. So it's a very, if you're interested in like the parts of the game that I'm interested in, which is like body language and who shows up and what their style is and all that stuff, there's a lot of space, and they feel like they're playing behind closed doors. It's very odd. I'm surprised if anybody else is getting that from it, but yeah, it's been interesting. The attendances are weird, but everybody is, for the most part, trying to put out strong 11s and play the game right. So that's been fun. Well,
part of the issue is they're playing games on a Tuesday afternoon at 2:00, local time.
It's great. Right? It's the best thing ever for us.
So it's great for people at home who want to watch it on TV or watch it on your phone. It's not so great if you're like trying to go to the game. That's just not a very
I turned down the tickets on Monday to Flamengo versus that Tunisian team just because it's Monday night at 9 p.m. Like nobody wants to go to that. And I'm probably the top 1% of who would be interested in that. And I didn't feel like going. So what does that tell you?
That's fair. I think that's fair. I mean, like it looks like the South American teams clearly.
Boca in Miami was crazy.
It's insane.
It looked like I mean, just the South American teams their fan bases are here to win it. Like they are in it to win it, and I respect the hell out of that.
Flamengo looked good today against Dortmund.
Fluminense.
Sorry. Yeah.
They did.
Well, it's the same thing as like South American clubs think they're bigger and better than European clubs. Their fans do, and this is like their chance to showcase that. So, and they're catching European clubs who guys feel like they're on vacation. Like this could have a weird winner.
No,
it could have a South American winner.
It will not. It will not have a weird winner.
You think is that based on assumption that these teams like Atletico Madrid and Dortmund,
PSG is just nasty still, like that's happening.
And Bayern's still really good. I just think that this is like U.S. Open Cup, like second and third round right now for MLS teams. Like once they get to the quarters and the semis, they're going to start taking it seriously, and they're going to want to win it because then the amount of money that they're going to be able to win is going to jack up so much. It's 125 million to the winning. Like these guys are not only. These guys are not only in America playing, but they could potentially the party that's going to happen in Vegas for the team that ends up winning this is going to be fucking outrageous. So like they will take this the utmost of seriously once they get to that point. But I also just like Mikey said, these South American teams think that they're better than they actually are. But Talk to me when Chelsea and PSG and Bayern start to really turn up the heat and see if they're still able to play on the same field.
Now, of the groups in this tournament so far, is any stand out, Tommy?
Yeah, the one that's on today. I think it's Group C, the one with River,
Group E.
Red Diamonds, Monterrey, and Inter. I like that group a lot.
Monterrey and the Rose Bowl tonight's going to be rocking.
Yeah, I think the Red Diamonds have awesome fans too. They've been showing up almost more so than River. You've got 3 teams outside of Inter that have fan bases that are gonna show up for every single game. That group, and then I know the Boca Benfica, who are they with? Bayern?
They're in Group C with Bayern and Auckland.
Benfica,
Yeah.
Boca, and
So
Auckland.
outside of Auckland, like that's a fun group.
The Tunisian fans for Esperance were crazy last night too.
Yeah.
Like they can show up. It's fun.
I think also lesson for the World Cup: don't do any games at noon. And
Don't
3
listen to
p.m.
Tommy.
Like, it's too hot. If you want to, like, it's just gonna be like a snooze fest for some of these. Like, from a player standpoint, like the game's gonna slow down big time, and that's to whoever was both you guys saying like a South American team won't win this. I think there is a world where the hotter this tournament gets, and the longer it goes on, a South American team is slightly more prepared, or it feels more normal to play a game at a slower pace in these conditions. I think a lot of things have to
by
go
that
right.
by that logic, Inter Miami should win the whole thing.
They're not even the most popular team in Miami anymore.
No.
Yeah, you need 11. You need 11 people to defend. That's the big issue there too. So,
couple issues.
Yeah.
Quickly before we move on, we got a question in the Discord chat from Justin. This one is for Mikey if it shows up. Rank them: Gold Cup, Club World Cup, U20 Euros.
I already know his answer.
This
Mary
is bullshit.
Mary fuck kill.
No, it's bullshit because Tyler's here, and I have to say that I love the Gold Cup.
You don't have to say anything. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I get paid the same.
The U19 or the U21 Euro was great when it was the only thing on that day. I have really enjoyed the Club World Cup, and then I'll put Gold Cup too because it's blasphemous to put that in the U21 groups. Just know I'm watching all those too. Okay.
Read between the lines on that one, Justin. All right. Well done. Quickly, MLS Minute. We got to do a quick one because there was a quick little game day, which, by the way, is just a joke that they were playing this. But go ahead, Tyler. Give us the rundown. Give us your 60-second thrusts.
All right, so we're going to have to start last Thursday on June 12th. New York City 4, Atlanta United 0. Struggles continue for Atlanta. I'll also keep in mind with the fact that basically every single team is missing like 5 to 10 guys. Again, why we're playing during this window, who on earth knows? Only Don Garber. Portland 1, San Jose 1 in the Pacific Northwest. St. Louis and LA Galaxy played to a 3-3 draw. LA still with just 1 win on the season. New England at home against FC Cincinnati, you pick up a big win and put an end to a 4-match winless streak. Philadelphia Union 2, Charlotte 1. Charlotte now slowly slipping towards the bottom of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, and Bradley Carnell and company getting it done. Columbus 2, Vancouver 1, and what should have been a great game between arguably the best team in the East and the best team in the West ended up being a game where a lot of guys were missing. Columbus 2, Vancouver 1. Chicago at home against Nashville. They just can't beat this team. They got beat 7-2 by them in Music City. Chicago lose 2-0 at home to BJ Callahan's side. BJ can do it in the technical area and on the tube as he's been part of the coverage for the Club World Cup. Houston Dynamo 1, Montreal 3. That is a bad look for Benny Olsen and company. But again, loads of guys missing. Do we really take any of this into account? Speaking of guys missing, San Diego FC get it done missing 8 players on the road against Minnesota. San Diego score 3 unanswered to win the game by a score of 4-2. Sporting Kansas City 2 at home. FC Dallas 4. Lucho Acosta and company getting it done. Austin at home 2-1 against the Red Bulls. Big win for Nico Estevez and company. Meanwhile, Oscar Pareja and Orlando City go on the road to Colorado and win by a score of 1-0. Real Salt Lake 2, DC United 0. Johnny Russell getting on the score sheet for RSL. And that would do it for match day, 9 3/4 while we're in the middle of international break.
An abbreviated match day. Well done. An abbreviated MLS Minute. Now we're on to stoppage time, where I'm keeping it quick here. We're going to hit you with my Overtrain best bet because we're doing Ivan Toney's best bet. So I'm going to give you the Overtrain. I won't even throw it at you guys unless you are ready and have something you want to give to the people. But I will give you my overtrain 5-a-side best bet of the week. We're coming off a week where we went 4-1. This would have been a couple weeks ago. But now I got the hat back on and we were ready to go. Wednesday, we're going Henan and Shanghai Port in the Chinese Super League. Thursday, we're going to the Finnish second division where Yaps, that's right, Yaps, not the other one. We're not doing, yep. We're not using slurs around here.
Well, you got to blow by this. Keep going.
All right. Yaps is hosting EIF in the Finnish second division on Thursday. Friday, we're going to Leknir Reykjavik hosting Njarðvík in the Iceland second division. That's a great job of pronunciation by me. Saturday, we're going to Norway in the Eliteserien where Bodo Glimt, you guys remember them, and Brann are playing on Saturday. Then Sunday, we're going to Gold Cup, Dominican Republic and Suriname. That game might have 18 goals in it, and I can't wait to watch. Now, finally, we're going to finish this up with a quick and abbreviated GOAWs where I can start unless you're ready to go, Mikey. You got somebody to throw out at us?
No, you go first.
All right. I'm going to go with honorable mention to Bumpy Pitch. The TST, they showed up and they showed out. They played really well on the men's and women's side. They got to the finals of both. They won the men's, lost to the U.S. women's. But well done, Bumpy Pitch on the TST field. My actual go is going to go to Michael Antonio. I can't believe this guy is playing in Gold Cup right now. If you look at pictures of his car crash from just a few months ago, like, I'm surprised that he survived, let alone is back playing soccer right now. That is insane to me. And he's not even like a 22-year-old, 23-year-old. The guy has got plenty of, wear and tear on the tires, and he's already back. That is insane. So shout out to Michael Antonio for coming back for Jamaica and playing, by the way, for the national team, which is not mandatory, as we know. Mikey, got to go for us?
I'm trying to think of somebody that I've watched a lot of in the last few weeks, and I'm scrolling FootMob and nothing's exactly jumping out to me.
I got one.
Yeah,
if you
go for
need
it.
time.
Yeah, go.
The Japanese fan who traveled all this way to Seattle to support River because he supports the rival of the Red Diamonds, and got interviewed outside. Yeah, I love that.
Just, to travel across the Pacific Ocean just to hate watch a team. I mean, that's next level hate.
Pretty awesome.
I love
Special
that.
stuff.
I truly respect that move from him. All right, Mikey.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be Michael Elise. I wanted to get more creative, but I do love the idea of a professional who can't turn it off. And when asked about whether he felt bad for Auckland after the result, he just laughed and said no. That's a man who knows that his paycheck is tied to goal assist incentives. That's a guy who looks at Auckland and doesn't see men with an underdog story. He sees meat. He sees meat. He sees something to feast on. And I can always get behind a guy like that. It would have been easy to give the PR answer. Like, I'm just cringing thinking of Declan Rice being like, blue collar workers in America. Like, no, Elise is like, fuck out of here. Scrubs, like, get off the pitch with me. I love that. So I'm going to have to give him that.
I like that one. I think Thomas Mueller fits in that same category. I think he scored the 10th goal and he was celebrating his little balls off. Listen, if you don't want him to celebrate, don't let him score.
Well, that's a little harder said than done when you're also trying to file your taxes.
That's true. Warehouse workers and actual farmers are out there trying to stop Bayern Munich. Oh, well. Guys, thank you, everybody and girls who showed up. Mikey, Tyler, Tommy, you guys are the best. Owen is on here, by the way. You can't see him, but Owen's out here working a little production work for us. Shout out, Owen. We'll be back bigger, better, faster, stronger next week after the U.S. has dismantled. Actually, might be back later this week after we dismantle the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. See you guys then.